Alright, so we're checking out these RCinpower 0702 29,000 kV motors. They do all have these available in 27,000 kV as well. And you can see here's what the motor looks like. Pretty typical, nothing too unusual in terms of an 0702. It's gonna be hard, it's very tiny, so it's kind of hard to see, but you can see I have a PCB there for the motor wires that are soldered onto, and then you have a plug on the other end. I elected to keep the plug on for the test, and I basically replaced the motors that are on this build here. This is actually the Mobula 6 Express LRS from like 2 or 3 years ago, and I converted it into an inverted whip here with the Beta FPV airframe. This is the lighter ultralight frame. And I did a video on this one with the HQ props. So basically I just took this exact build and just swapped the motors out. Same props, same tune, same everything. Same battery. And this is what the motor that was on there before, this is what that looked like. This is the Happy Model 0702. It was 26,000 kV, so much lower kV. The motor wire on this one is a little bit shorter. So you can see here the difference in the motor wire length. This motor is a little bit heavier, so it's like 1.575, somewhere in there. And then this motor is a little bit lighter. So before, this build weighs 17.6 grams. And then with basically just swapping the motor out, now we're up to 18 grams. So I gained half a gram of weight just by swapping out the Happy Model motor for the RCinpower motor. So a little bit, probably because this is a little bit too long. You know, obviously if you cut it off and solder directly to your flight controller board, you can save some weight there. Obviously I'm carrying around a little extra weight than I probably could not necessarily have to carry around. You can see that the extra motor wire kind of loops around there, not really needed. But for this test, you know, I just wanted to swap the motor straight out. And I think some of the extra weight is not only from the extra motor wire length, which is very negligible. It's very, I mean, we're talking about a little bit amount here because the plug's the same. This motor is, I guess, has a dual ball bearing in here, so it's going to have a little bit better durability compared to the old Happy Model motors. I believe the shaft is a little bit shorter as well, so that might help in terms of the shaft bending. But typically where the older Happy Model motors tended to wear down was with the C-clip breaking here. So you have a small C-clip there, and then the bell would pop off. That's the most common thing that would break, and then the C-clip on this one's quite a bit more substantial, very large. So that's less likely to happen. The dual ball bearings will let the motor stay smoother longer. These are already, I mean, these are several years old, so they already sound a little bit rough in the air. Honestly, I recorded the audio of the motors, and they sound the same. If you play them back, basically through like some sort of a speaker, but if you're actually hearing it live, like right next to you, there is a slight difference. I can feel the roughness. I could hear the roughness in the bearings on the Happy Model motors, and that could be just because they're a lot older. Now, obviously, there's no way for me to know how these bearings will hold up after 4 years. You know, maybe if I still have these in 4 years, come back and ask me, I'll let you know. But the dual ball bearing motor should hold up better, especially if you crash a lot. And it should hold up its smoothness a little bit better. Now, in terms of the test, I use the same battery. This is the Tattoo 300 milliamp hour that I flew before. On the old motor, obviously weighs a little bit less. On this motor here, also lower kV, I would get roughly a 3-minute flight. So that's pretty average. Now the performance on this motor is so-so. It's 26,000 kV. It will do the job. You know, if you're going to be doing racing, but you're not going to be breaking any records or anything like that, no speed records or anything like that. Can do a little bit of freestyle. It's a little bit on the, it's a little bit lacking in power. This motor here, 29,000 kV, definitely has more power, but the downside, and it's a pretty big downside, is the flight time is significantly reduced. Now, a part of that is due to the higher kV. 29,000 kV is significantly more than 26,000 kV. But I think overall this motor does seem to suck power more than happy model motors. Maybe just less efficient, maybe it's extra weight. Not 100% sure what the cause is. I was getting a flight time of about 2 minutes on this motor. Basically the same setup indoors, flying the same way. And that's a pretty significant reduction in flight time. But the performance is definitely better. So in terms of like indoor racing on a small track, probably not gonna make much difference to upgrade. But if you're doing some freestyle, maybe the extra power is going to come in handy, but your flight times are going to be even lower. So when I was doing some outdoor freestyle, I was getting like 1.5 minutes, maybe even less. So the efficiency of this motor is something that is a bit lacking. Now, this might do better if you get the 27,000 kV motor. So you're going to get a little bit less power, probably a little bit more efficiency, a little bit more flight time. And that's probably what you want to go for if you're going to be doing freestyle, because the voltage sag on the 29,000 kV motor at full throttle is pretty significant. You get a lot of voltage sag and you lose a lot of power basically when you go full throttle. The full throttle punch outs don't last very long. So if you're doing racing, 29,000 kV, if you're okay with a shorter flight time, and 27,000 kV if you're going to be doing freestyle. You can also do a motor output limit on here and maybe get a little bit more efficiency. So if you want to reduce the kV even more, you can put a motor output limit on there and get it down to 25,000 kV, 23,000 kV, and get a lot more flight time. But of course, you lose that top end punch out power. So it kind of depends on what you want to do. But you do have to have some flexibility to reduce the kV if you want to on this motor. But keep in mind, I just flew it without any modifications, and just so I can do a comparison with the old motor versus the new motor. And yeah, basically performance is better, but flight time is worse. So not too much out of my expectation. It's pretty much within my realm of expectation, but the reduction in flight time was a little bit more than I was expecting. I thought it'd be a little bit better, but I think when you go with a higher kV motor, in the 29,000, 30,000 kV, 2 minute and under flight times is not unusual. You'll probably see that pretty often. I think getting the weight of this down more will help. So if you're using this really high kV motor, if you can get the weight down of your craft, say below 17 grams, like maybe like cutting the motor wires off, cutting the motor plugs off, soldering directly to the flight controller, maybe cutting parts of the frame off. I could go with the plastic screws instead of the metal screws, stuff like that. If I can get the weight down from 18 grams to like 16.5 grams, I suspect the flight time will go up, and probably by a lot. There's a lot of things you can do to sort of like play around with it to improve your flight time. But these are the findings that I had. Overall, pretty in line with a lot of the RCN power motors I've reviewed in the past. So nothing too surprising. I think it's a good motor. It's just that maybe they could do something to get it a little bit more efficient, and that's my feedback to them. I do have another motor from them, also in this teal and pink color. By the way, this does come in a red and silver color as well, but apparently that's out of stock right now. They sent me an 0703 23,000 kV motor, also in teal and pink. I think this one also comes in red and silver as well. I'll have another video later on this one. I'm going to do a 40mm build instead of a 31mm prop build with the new Meteor 75 airframe. So like an ultralight 40mm build with this motor, I think should be a pretty good performer at this lower kV. We'll see, but that's going to be coming up in a future video, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on. That'll do it for this video. Got any questions, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.